Today, a curious event was observed in the sky over the United States of America and then over the Atlantic, which indicates that the United States is in fact entering into war against Iran, or at the very least increasing Israel's capabilities to destroy Iran's nuclear program. In particular, several United States aerial refueling tankers were spotted in the sky, a rather large number of them crossing the Atlantic and most likely transporting weapons to Israel that are capable of finally penetrating those underground facilities in Iran where Iran is hiding its nuclear program. Moreover, it is known that in the past 48 hours, Israel has asked the Trump administration to join the war with Iran in order to eliminate its nuclear program. The overall picture is that Israel does not have bunker-busting bombs or the large bombers needed to destroy Iran's Fordo uranium enrichment facility, which is built into a mountain and deep underground. But the United States of America has all of that, and today there was a rather curious transfer of a large number of those very same air tankers, bombers, and possibly those very bombs that can penetrate such facilities. But let's go through everything step by step now. My name is Alexei Pichi. We'll break everything down in detail, but before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, leave a like, write any comment, and be sure to subscribe to my Telegram channel, Pichi News. The link to it is in the description of this video. There we publish breaking news as it comes in. So, according to Israeli officials, Israel has been asking the Trump administration over the past 48 hours to join the war with Iran in order to eliminate its nuclear program. The thing is, unfortunately, Israel does not have bunker buster bombs or large bombers needed to destroy the Iranian nuclear facility, which is called Fordo, which is hidden deep inside a mountain. The United States has both within range of Iran, meaning both heavy bombs and heavy bombers. And so far, the Trump administration has distanced itself from Israel's operation and claimed that it would be illegal for Iran to retaliate against targets in the United States or against United States targets in the Middle East. A direct attack on Iran, even if United States involvement is limited to bombing a single facility, would still draw the United States directly into the war. However, on the other hand, if the Fordo facility remains operational after the operation is over, Israel will not succeed in achieving its goal of eliminating Iran's nuclear program. By the way, I have 2 videos on this topic and I recommend you watch them. Here are the previous 2 episodes on my channel where we explained in simple terms what Iran's nuclear program is, how it works, what missiles Iran has, how Israel has struck Iran, and how Iran has responded to Israel. I highly recommend you watch these to be fully aware of what's going on. An Israeli source stated that the United States might join the operation, and President Trump even hinted that he would do so if necessary in a recent conversation with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Looking ahead, I'll say that he already is. A White House spokesperson said on Friday, no, of course not, we are not involved in this war at all and we do not intend to be involved. A second United States official, on the contrary, confirmed on Saturday that Israel had called on the Trump administration to join this war, but said that at the moment the administration is supposedly not considering this issue. A senior White House official said on Saturday that what is going to happen today cannot be prevented, referring to Israel's attacks. Well, I'll go ahead and quote him. But we have an opportunity to reach a successful, peaceful settlement of this conflict if Iran wants it. The fastest way for Iran to achieve peace is to abandon its nuclear weapons program. Well, by implying that we have no influence, we're not going to stop Israel's attacks in any way. If Iran wishes to survive, it should engage in normal, reasonable negotiations at the negotiating table. As the Israeli ambassador to the United States later said the other day, quote, the entire operation should actually end with the elimination of the Fordo facility. Israeli officials have discussed United States involvement in eliminating Fordo with their American counterparts since the start of Israel's operation. And now an Israeli source has reported that the United States is considering this request and emphasized that Israel hopes Trump will agree. This is where things get really interesting. Because due to the fact that the White House's public rhetoric is that they have nothing to do with this operation at all. Nevertheless, Today, observers recorded a curious mass departure of American aerial tankers from the United States. And right now you can see on your screens this freeze frame, so to speak, from the flight radar, which shows a rather large cluster of heavy aircraft taking off from the United States of America toward the Atlantic. And now I'll explain why this one picture is very important and very interesting. So, each of the aircraft marked on the map represents one American aerial tanker, which today is heading east from the continental United States. As you understand, at the time of recording this episode, these aircraft are already either over the Atlantic or have crossed it. And obviously tankers, heavy military tankers, do not cross the Atlantic just like that. Why hasn't such an armada been officially announced at all? So, we can assume several reasons. I see only two here. The first one is unlikely right away, but nevertheless, it needs to be voiced. Military drills are commencing in Finland with troops from the United Kingdom, France, and the United States participating. But last year, the KC 135R aerial tankers based in the United Kingdom were more than enough to support these exercises. The second and more obvious reason is still the war between Israel and Iran. And that's why the depletion of aerial bombs in the Israeli Air Force is enormous, so new supplies are urgently needed. The United States is the main supplier of these aerial bombs. Thus, we are seeing the first stage of creating such an air bridge for transferring munitions. Aerial tankers stationed at 2 or 3 air bases along the route between the United States and Israel will provide support for C-17 and C-5 aircraft, which can urgently and quickly transport aviation munitions and spare parts needed by the Israeli air fleet. Tankers, as you understand, do not fly on their own, so when they are being escorted, a large number of United States tactical aircraft are also being transferred to the Middle East. This does not mean that the United States is engaging in direct combat operations against Iran. Perhaps it's only about protecting Israel from Iranian drones or a way to put pressure on Iran. Like, look, the Air Force is ready at any moment, it will take off, and, excuse me, it will strike. Another aspect, no matter how successful Israeli air operations over Iran might be, there is a whole group of targets deeply hidden underground that remain absolutely unreachable for Israeli aircraft. They won't be able to bomb them in any way. But Israel cannot bomb Iran's nuclear program alone, as it is buried deep in bunkers, especially the Fordow facility. To destroy Iran's underground facilities, you need large planes carrying powerful bombs, really powerful ones. To fully carry out their plan, Israel needs American B-2 strategic bombers and massive ordnance penetrator type bombs. The massive ordnance penetrator bomb, or if you translate it, the massive ordnance penetrator, is a high-precision bunker-busting aerial bomb. Officially, it's called the Guided Bomb Unit, 57AB. This weapon is designed to destroy deeply fortified underground targets such as command bunkers, weapons storage facilities, or sites related to weapons of mass destruction programs, including nuclear installations. So everything suggests that today something very, very valuable might have been transferred from the United States to Israel. That means Iran has set foot on a path from which it cannot turn back without suffering heavy losses. Although, on the other hand, it's worth noting that Trump is still looking for options for a deal with Tehran. Iran and Israel must come to terms. This was stated by United States President Donald Trump, noting that they will do it just like India and Pakistan did under his leadership, with the help of trade with the United States. This brought reason, unity, and sanity to the negotiations with two excellent leaders who were able to make a quick decision and stop. Also, as Trump writes, during my first term, Serbia and Kosovo were on the verge of a major conflict, as had happened for decades, and this long-standing dispute had almost turned into a war. I stopped it, and then he again mentions former United States President Joe Biden, who allegedly harmed the prospects for long-term peace with his very foolish decisions. Then Trump gives another example. He says that Egypt and Ethiopia and their dispute over the huge dam that affects the Nile could have escalated into war. But now these countries are not involved in military conflicts, supposedly thanks to the intervention of American President Donald Trump. And at the end, he writes, quote, "In the same way, there will soon be peace between Israel and Iran." Numerous calls and meetings are taking place right now. I do a lot, and I never get credit for it, but that's okay. People understand everything. Let's make the Middle East great again. So Trump is hinting that he's still in favor of a deal, but his actions say a lot right now. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like.